Hey folks, Jesse Randall outside of Escanaba at the Forestry Innovation Center. So Michigan State University has these properties and we routinely run into issues that arise, and as part of our research protocol, a lot of times we're growing trees for a very long time to mimic a natural rotation in a plantation setting. And every once in a while, we have to deal with insect and outbreak or disease outbreaks. And we have the good fortune, we've partnered up with Nelson Logging, and a lot of times when we have outbreaks, we give them a call. They have a local market for chips and for some boltwood. And this is their downtime, so we thought we'd come in, give you a little example of what the machinery is and how it works. But we've asked them to come in on this job because we had some budworm that got in and killed some of our spruce plantations, and it's moving through on its annual cycle. And we've really had a lot of trees succumb to the budworm and are going down. And what you can see is it's really not safe for me to have our guys out here dropping these trees. One, there's a power line that we have to deal with. Two, a lot of these trees have died, and so they're a hazard tree. So we asked Nelson's to come in, and they've brought their mechanized equipment, and we just wanted to show you what one of these harvester heads looks like up close. And not a lot of people get to experience one of these harvesters and how it works, how we utilize mechanization in the forestry industry. These machines are all controlled by the cab and the operator up there. And there's sensors on the head of the machine which tells them the length of what they're going to be cutting and how large they are. They can talk back and forth. But you look at this machine and it's actually a pretty complicated piece of machinery. You can walk up to a tree and these fingers are on hydraulics. They're going to clamp around that tree. And then we have a fairly aggressive chain with a hydraulic motor right down here. That's going to cut that tree off. And the nice thing is you can set this right on the ground and you know you're going to have a stump that's about 6 inches off the base of that tree. And that tree now is being held by these as they clamp closed. It then can be laid over precisely, and for us, near those power lines, it's going to be laid over in a safe manner. And then this drive wheel, on these two drive wheels, they're going to measure then how long of a bolt they're going to cut, and some of this is going into pulp sticks, some of this is going to go into dimensional lumber, and then the remainder, the tops of that tree, will be whole tree chipped and go into the heating sector. So really the entire site is going to be cleaned of any waste. Does a few things. It sanitizes the site from any insect and disease, but it also makes it easier as a research director, makes it easier for me in time to bring this site back into production. It doesn't keep a lot of fuel and combustible fuel on the site. But just wanted to give you an idea of what this mechanized machinery looks like up close when it's not running. Now there are some issues that we're faced. You know, these drive wheels have these teeth that get on it. And in a lot of cases, you have to be really careful with living trees that we're harvesting or live trees that are going to enter a higher end market. You have to be real careful about the pressure that you set to pull the tree through. And Antonio was out earlier. He took some drone footage and some HD footage while the guys were working. And so you'll get to see this machine take a hold of a tree, cut it off, tip it on its side, and you'll see the operator, Dave Nelson's son, you'll see that operator pull that stick in and out. And what he's doing is he's breaking off the branches. They're not cutting the branches, but they're breaking the branches off. And on these dead conifers, sometimes that's not a very clean job. And we'll look at the pile here in a minute. But again, it's safe to run these equipment or take down these dead and dying trees because the operator's in a fully enclosed cab, it's air conditioned. And so really, worker comfort has really improved in the industry. Precision has really improved in the industry. Safety has really improved in the industry. Now, there's a lot of points on this machine as you're servicing them that you could get pinched in or caught with. And so it's always best to make sure the machine's off, that it's locked out, and then you go in, you do your routine service. And like everything in forestry, everything's heavy, everything's built really well, but you got to take care of it. And so you'll see in here there's a lot of wear points and a lot of points that you have to lubricate. So this is the cutter head. This is the part that does all the work. And then if we pan over and take a walk, you'll look at this forwarder, and you'll notice one of the first things we notice, both the forwarder and the cutter, the harvester head, they have these tracks on the back of these high flotation tires. And one thing that we have really changed over the years with any of this is ground compaction. You know, forestry is a year-round profession now. And so we want to have technology that allows us to run in a lot of different conditions. So whether it's dry soils, wetter soils, frozen soils, thawed soils, running these tracks, you'll oftentimes look down and you'll see where it ran and it looks like it was a bulldozer. But what these tracks are doing is it's really spacing out and distributing the weight of these machines. They're running incredibly wide flotation tires. And you'll see that these tires don't have very big lugs on them. They're not aggressive. It's more for flotation and to spread the weight out. Because each of these, this is a double bunk, so each of these bunks are going to hold 2 ricks of wood, and they'll pile it up and they'll walk it from where they cut it, they'll carry it out, and they'll set it on a landing. But again, you'll have some sort of loader with an articulating grapple on it. Again, everything is controlled from the cab, and the operator sits right there. He can see what's going on. He can see the safety around him. Again, don't ever think that they can see you though. So if you have logging happening on your own site, be very careful about how you or the kids or the grandkids walk and move around in a logging operation, because yes, the visibility is good, but it's still a big piece of equipment that could hurt you in a quick hurry. So with that, I think it would be good to go out. We'll look at some of these brush piles that they're creating that'll be whole tree chipped. We'll look at some of the sticks that were cut. And then we'll also look at the stumps. We'll also look at how they're moving around on the site, creating a main skid road or a haul road. And it just is going to lend itself to a cleaner harvest and a much easier time for me to return this site to a usable, research-oriented field. So we're standing here at this landing, and landings are traditionally where they're going to deck the logs. So the forwarder brings them out from the cut area to an area that is dry, an area where the semi log loader can get in, can turn around, and can safely load these. And so, you know how we talked about earlier with that harvester head breaking those branches off, conifers that have died from insect and disease, a lot of times don't clean up nice. And this gives you an example of just what we're faced. You know, he's trying to break these branches off, but they just are not wanting to break off with his equipment. You can see they've broken a little bit, but they're not clean. Some of this material will enter a market that will allow them to chip a single 2x4 out of it or saw a 2x4 out of it. Some of this will enter a pulp market over at the mill. Some of it will enter that domestic heating process, but it all ends up out here on the landing. And you're gonna see, when this harvest progresses, you're gonna see different piles of different material. And the forwarder operator is kind of setting out where everything goes. And once they have a load or two, they'll call for that haul truck to get out here. He'll load up and it'll be gone. And this material, since they're cleaning up a dead and dying stand, we didn't know what the quality was going to be. We didn't really worry about the volume. We were worried more about getting it out of here. And so we'll know the truckloads that leave the site will be paid on a tonnage price that was predetermined as to the market rate. And so anytime you do a timber sale, you want to work with a consulting forester or call your district forestry representative and figure out, one, the volume that you're going to move, how the sale should proceed, and whatever you do, make sure you have a well-written contract. When in doubt, you can get a hold of us here at the Forestry Biomass Innovation Center outside Escanaba, and we can help you get that local resource and an understanding of how a timber sale proceeds so that everything is above board. It's all, we're kind of playing on an equal footing, and you and the logger both know exactly what you want and what they need and what the dollar values will be. And so we can help you with all of that. So this, just understand, when they talk about needing space for a landing, this is what we're talking about, where they're going to deck the logs, where they're going to bring them out, where they're going to store the equipment during the logging operation. So it's more than just providing them with trees. It's about providing access and providing an open site for them to use. So we're out here in the harvest site, and what we wanted to show you real quickly is that the mechanized instruments, because we're in a plantation setting, he's able to get within a foot of the ground and shear this stump off. He's able to reach a row on the right, a row in the middle, and a row on the left, and he's aggregating all of that slash into one row, and then he'll come back the other way. Again, everything that he's doing is for efficiency and for cleanliness, and so he's putting piles of sticks or bolts on one side, he's putting the tops on another, and eventually he'll come around, pick all those up, and he'll throw those into that whole tree chipper, which we're going to bring you whenever they bring it out on site. But to have that machine run efficiently, he has to have this entire block pretty much on the ground and decked out before they bring in the whole tree chipper and the semis. But we'll bring you that in a later one. This is just to show you how clean that mechanized equipment will make the cut and how low to the ground he's getting. And then from there, we're gonna come in, we're gonna burn this site off next spring and start the process of cleaning these areas out over the next 5 to 10 years.